Greetings and salutations, folks, and welcome once again, as always, to another helping of Mr H's Hot Pot. Join me this morning up at Sparrows Fart once again on the old Cresta run, getting the old beverages for the day, or should I say, for the morning, before we head off into the parks once again, myself and Mrs H. Temperature's just about bearable, but it will get hotter. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning here, Florida time. I'm going to make my way over to that little area where I made most of my video, a little vlog from yesterday, which is a little kiddies play area, which is quiet this time of morning because all the kids are out having the breakfast and stuff like that. Just stepped to one side because one of Disney's employees is zooming past in this little golf cart-esque type thing. There he goes. And we'll just talk about something that happened yesterday. I'd like the Hot Pot community's reaction to an incident that happened yesterday when we was out in EPCOT, which is one of the Disney parks. We had the day ruined a little bit, Hot Potters. Now, for those of you who don't know anything about Disney parks, EPCOT's set up into lands. They're all themed. And there's one area called Living with the Land. The idea with it is that they talk about farming and agriculture and all that kind of good stuff, and show you really how we should be living and working with the land, as opposed to just doing what the hell we want. Some of it's lip service, if we're being honest, Hot Potters, but the majority of it is sort of sound advice. Anyway, there's a little boat ride in there that goes through, and it just sort of takes you through. Now, it's very low energy, it's not high octane fun, you know, crash bang wallop, but little Toby was looking forward to this ride. He was really excited at going on this ride. As I say, to myself and Mrs H, it's not really all that exciting, as we've been on it before, but he was looking forward to it. So before we went there, we thought we'll go, just let this guy go past again. They're quite noisy, them things, they're like a wasp's nest going past. We went for something to eat with little Toby James in the restaurant next door, which is called Seasons. And we went and found a table. It wasn't a case of you can just go where you want, it's wherever there's a table available. So it was sort of one of the low-end restaurants in the Disney parks. So we ended up being seated on a table near a back wall that was close to the exit of this ride. And Toby obviously could hear this ride, which he was looking forward to, going on behind him. So he's got up on the bench and he's peered over this low wall, and he could see the ride and he's looking at it. Oh, look, Daddy, and this, and I'm thinking, really, you shouldn't be stood on chair, Toby, so, you know, get down. Which he did, but he kept getting up. Obviously, he was excited. He's 4 years old, for Christ's sake. Anyway, he started mimicking the audio, which is telling people to keep their arms and legs in the boat at all times, and, you know, don't stand up and all this. So he's mimicking that. And he was doing this for about 2 or 3 minutes, just keep getting up, peering over the wall at the exit and just basically mimicking it. As I said, he was excited, he was looking forward to it. And one of the Disney employees, the cast members as they're called, yells over from his station, you know, get down, or words to that effect. I didn't hear it because of the noise that's going on in the restaurant and the ride. You couldn't hear it, but he jumped down and he sat in his seat, like bolt upright, Toby, as though he'd seen a ghost. And I says, what's up? And he said, that man shouted at me. What man, Toby? What are you on about? Anyway, it started getting to the stage where Toby was going into like an hyperventilation. But we were trying to calm him down. Now, looking back on it, your first reaction is to jump over the wall and go and beat the crap out of the guy who's upset him. But as I said, my main concern was Toby. Anyway, meanwhile, Mrs H come back with the meal. She says, what's gone off? So I says, I don't know. So I reiterated what I've just told you guys. And she said, right, well, let's get Toby calmed down. So I tried pulling wool over Toby's eyes. I said, I'll go round and I'll have a word with him. I didn't. I just went outside and just waited for a bit. Counted to about 100 in my head, and then came back and said, yeah, I've had a word with him, Toby. I've told him not to do it again, for try and calm Toby down. But he wasn't having any of it. And literally, it spoilt the day, Hot Potters, what had happened. Now, I did go over and have a word with the ride operator's supervisor, Unfortunately, she was only a young lass, and she was very apologetic. She said, "He shouldn't have spoke that way to your son." You know, as I explained, I don't think my son should have been stood on the seat. I understand that, but you know, he is only 4 and he was looking forward to the ride. Now, the problem I think here at Potters is the guy who shouted at my son is an old fella. He should have probably been pensioned off years ago. But with the cost of living crisis and all that kind of good stuff, he's had to stay in work. And how is he going to listen to a supervisor who is half his age? And I could tell just talking to this young lady that she wasn't very assertive. You know, if she was my boss, I'd be taking mick type of thing, and I wouldn't be respecting her because, as I said, she wasn't assertive enough. You could just tell looking at her. Now, in fairness to Disney, I'm not going to blame Disney for this, because a company this size is going to have a few rotten apples in the barrel. I mean, when we was over at Disneyland Paris, roughly the same thing happened. There was an older cast member, and they have character meet and greets all over the Disney parks, and we went to meet Mickey Mouse. And the kids are bored waiting in line. There's nothing for them to do. They just have to stand in line with the parents. Now, we're as a parent, just not that fly away. You see that one, Hot Potters? Brilliant bit of fly ping pong tennis there. Where you will just stand in a line as an adult and you just accept that I've got to wait in this line. Children won't. They just won't do it. So what kids were doing, they have like gravel over there instead of grass to obviously keep the weeds down, and the kids were playing with that gravel, and this woman would keep coming running over, you know, and tapping children on the shoulder and telling them no in that horrible French manner. And I just think that some of the older cast members, you know, you've got to understand that they're in a situation, employment, where it's geared towards kids, and if you can't deal with kids, then you need to get out. And Disney do need to bear a bit of responsibility for this, I think, because at one time, if you went for a job at Disney, they would vet you, they would sort of profile you, and then they would put you where they thought you was most suitable. So if you was an outgoing person and you was very, very outgoing in your interview, right, well, we'll have you customer facing. If you was a bit shy and retiring, then maybe not, they'd put you backstage. And if he was really miserable, they'd probably put you on bins, which is where that guy who shouted at my son should have been, really. But what would you have done in that situation, Hot Potters? Would you have, you know, gone over and beat the living crap out of him? Or would you have blamed your son for jumping up on the seat and said, well, it's, you know, you got what you deserve type of thing? Or would you have gone, like we ended up doing, going to guest relations, which is like customer service, complaining about it? And in fairness to them, although we wasn't after anything, we wasn't trying to get something for free, you know, free drinks or a free meal or anything, they did put us for the fireworks show in some of the reserved areas, which you would pay a lot of money for if you was to go and pay the dollars, you know, the premium dollars, to try and make it right. But the problem was, Toby fixated on this little incident that had happened all day, and no matter what I tried to do, he just wouldn't forget it. He just kept saying, you know, will that man be coming back? And I'm like, Toby, if that man comes back and shouts at you again, he's going to get a rough 10 minutes, basically. So, no. But what would you have done, Hot Potters? That's the question. As I said, I do bear some responsibility. My son shouldn't have been stood on the seat shouting over the wall. But let's face it, this place is supposedly geared to children. And when you bring children here, they're treated like it's Christmas morning for 2 weeks. So they're going to get giddy. You're filling them full of pop. You're filling them full of sugary goodness. You know, when you go into the parks, the brilliant cast members that are out there, they'll try and wind your kid up and get them all excited. So you are going to get these incidents where they do something that they perhaps shouldn't do normally and wouldn't do normally. And another thing I've found is that there's a new breed of Disney cast members, and they're coming through and they're not being trained as well as the older cast members. Some of the people who've worked here for years and years, and they keep returning year on year, they admit that. They'll say the new people who are coming through are not trained to the standards that we are. And, you know, we was shocked when we came on a vacation at the way we've been spoken to by some of these people. And that's coming from Disney cast members. So, yeah, it does really need looking at. But I think Disney need to weed out the rotten apples and either get rid of them full stop or have them on non-customer facing jobs. Anyway, Hot Potters, that's my little rant for the day. Please leave your comments below how you would have dealt with that, because I'm just wondering, did I deal with it the right way? Anyway, this little vlog is clocking up to 10 minutes, so I'm going to sign off now and enjoy mere beverage. So until the next time, from myself, Mr. H, it is bye bye for now.